My name is Brian Clodfelter, and the webinar I chose was Classroom Management, Behavioral Support, Motivation, and Reflective Teaching. Um, in regards to why it's important to differentiate learning, each student has a unique set of learning needs, especially students with learning disabilities. Because of this, it is important for that special education teachers have a good grasp on what differentiated instruction is and how it can be implemented to support students who require special education services. Students with disabilities frequently have instructional needs that are overlooked by educators, but by using differentiated instruction, we are allowing all students to have access to the same learning outcomes as their non-disabled peers. Differentiated instruction also focuses on the creation of optimal learning environment. Having a flexible classroom layout is very important, and using various arrangements and furniture types is an extremely good idea. Breaking students into multiple groups and giving them access to learning centers can be a great way to keep students engaged in learning, whether they have learning disabilities or not. A summary of the main points of the webinar. The webinar starts off with the main speaker being, pulling up my notes, Dr. Adam Bosserman, who was educated for over 20 years, worked as a teacher specialist and leader in both general and special education. And Dr. Bosserman was a university instructor and project coordinator for the Indiana Department of Educators. The main points start off with background on classroom management, behavioral supports, and reflective teaching. It talks about knowing your classroom style, know the systematic design behaviorally for your school, strengths of behavioral management, known areas of improvement with behavioral management, and reflective practices. And it looks at behavioral management in a couple ways. It looks at it from a school classroom management approach and then a school-wide approach, with classroom management focusing on things like your rules, your relationships, your structures, your motivations, your engagement. Your school-wide approach being built off things such as PBS, which is positive behavior interventions and supports, and MTSS, RTI for behavior. MTSS is multi-tiered systems of support, and RTI's response to intervention for behavior. Another key component that goes on with that, it deals with reflecting practices or reflective practices, which is when you're constantly and consistently assessing your behavioral management practices. You want to make sure you review them periodically for how your management system's working. You can look at things like how many classroom incidents you had. You want to evaluate what works, what doesn't work. Why did what worked last week not work now? And general practices that don't always work for everybody. The importance of classroom management, effective teaching, behavior management, and classroom climate. It looks at why classroom management is important, establishes an effective learning environment, contributes to student achievement, minimizes behavioral challenges, decreases teacher stress, increases teacher job satisfaction. It talks about the components of effective teaching and breaks that down, what behavior management looks like. Then this also is going to go into answering number 4, where we're going to be looking at well-developed strategies. With our behavior management strategies, this will be our summary, and we'll also start dealing with question number 4. Preventative strategies minimize behavior by keeping students engaged. Supportive strategies, they assist students by helping them get back on task. And corrective strategies respond to students not following classroom and or school rules. It looks at the acting out cycle for behavior management, which deals with calm, trigger, agitation, acceleration, peak, de-escalation, and recovery, and how that cycle repeats itself. It deals with collaboration, classroom climate. Then it starts talking about HLPs and how they help in social and emotional behavioral strategies. Classroom expectations, set and define. Component 2, use continuum strategies to acknowledge appropriate behavior with frequency, provide positive constructive feedback to students. Use strategies to promote effective student engagement. Teachers must build positive teacher-student relationships. Teachers should use a variety of strategies to ensure student engagement. Collaboration through HLPs, the role of leaders in HLPs, and the role of special and CTE teachers. All of these are very important strategies that can be utilized to support, train, and help educate for learners in our environment. With me working in the education environment, I deal with this every day, and some of this is high-level stuff, and some of it's stuff that's very easy for us to pick up and use.